India's Prime Minister Mr. Narendra Modi is participating in a G7 outreach session on artificial intelligence, energy, Africa and the Mediterranean. The outreach session provides an opportunity to bring greater synergy between the outcomes of the G20 summit held under India's presidency and the G7 summit and deliberate on issues which are crucial for the global south. France's President Emmanuel Macron, in his address, praised Prime Minister Modi's initiative on artificial intelligence and digital public infrastructure. The G20 summit was successfully conducted in New Delhi in September 2023. Pope Francis joined on Friday the outreach session of the G7 Leaders Summit in Borgo Exania in the southern Italian region of Puglia to lead discussions on artificial intelligence. It's the first time in history that a pontiff has taken part in a meeting of the Group of 7 democracies. The group comprises Britain, Canada, Germany, France, Italy, Japan, the United States and the European Union. Pope Francis was warmly embraced by a fellow Argentinian President Javier Milei and kissed by Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. He also received a hug from Jordan's King Abdullah and had a long whispered conversation with US President Joe Biden. Besides, he also met India's Prime Minister Mr. Narendra Modi. The G7 outreach session on artificial intelligence was also attended by Pope Francis. The Pope said that humans must not lose control of artificial intelligence.
We need to guarantee and protect a space for meaningful human control over the process of choosing artificial intelligence programs. Human dignity itself depends on it. Precisely on this issue, let me insist. In a drama such as armed conflicts, it is urgent to rethink the development and use of devices such as so-called lethal autonomous weapons in order to ban their use, starting already with a proactive and concrete effort to introduce more and more meaningful human control. No machine should ever choose whether to take the life of a human being.
Earlier, Italy's Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni welcomed the Pope at the G7 summit. Now, a Pope is making an appearance at a G7 summit for the first time ever. G7 leaders and Pope Francis discussed about how to govern artificial intelligence and harness it for growth. Artificial intelligence has become a major geopolitical talking point among G7 leaders ever since the so-called generative AI captured the public's imagination in late 2022. And India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi held a bilateral meeting with France's President Emmanuel Macron on the margins of the G7 summit in Italy. The two leaders reviewed India-France bilateral relations, focusing on the Horizon 2047 roadmap and the Indo-Pacific roadmap as well. Both leaders agreed to expand cooperation in the realm of AI, critical and emerging technologies, energy and sports. The two leaders will also work closely in context of the forthcoming AI Summit and the United Nations Oceans Conference, both to be hosted in France in 2025. The two also exchanged views on key global and regional issues, emphasizing on a strong and trusted strategic partnership. The Prime Minister also extended his best wishes to President Macron for the forthcoming Paris Olympics and the Paralympic Games. Prime Minister Modi also met his British counterpart Rishi Sunak on the sidelines of the summit. British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak congratulated PM Modi on his historic third consecutive term. The two leaders reaffirmed the shared commitment of both countries to further strengthening their bilateral ties. The two discussed about the implementation of Roadmap 2030 and expressed happiness on the progress in all areas of their comprehensive strategic partnership. They also expressed satisfaction with the progress made in the free trade agreement negotiations between the two countries. The two leaders also discussed about regional and multilateral matters of mutual interest. The Indian Prime Minister also held talks with Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky. Both leaders had a productive meeting in which they discussed about ways to strengthen bilateral relations. They also exchanged views on the situation in Ukraine and the upcoming summit on peace being hosted by Switzerland. The Prime Minister conveyed that India continues to encourage peaceful resolution of the conflict through dialogue and diplomacy, and reiterated that India would continue to do everything within its means to support a peaceful resolution.